Peeps, what is the beef? Peter OBG blowing into his armpit there to start. Absolutely fantastic stuff. What do you call that, pal?
Thanks for not counting me in there. No, I took the fucking plaster off from the hospital today. That's all it was.
They were
blowing into my
separated
armpit
from his senses earlier on. They were ripping the fucking platelets out of his arms. So they were.
Whatever happened to 3, 2, 1 and we're live, fuck's sake.
Did I not give you a 3, 2, 1 there, no? Did I just go and fucking press the button? Come on. Go on. I thought I counted you in. I thought I did.
Well, we're in now. Let's go, champ.
Listen, chefs, episode number 5. You better believe it, pal. Sank on sank. That doesn't even make any sense. It's not even a fucking word. I think I said 55 in French there.
German and French together, yeah.
Mix them up. Fucking boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew, pal. Episode 5 today. Your standards are really high in the kitchen, but your standards outside the kitchen, not so much. They're very low. That's today's episode, okay? This is an interesting concept that I've been thinking about. And I think it's very, very, very common with chefs. So what I'm going to start this off by saying is ask yourself what your standard is when you go into work every single day, chef. Like when you walk in, and let's say you start at 10 o'clock, you got a lunch service and you got a dinner service, right? You walk in 10 o'clock, get your fucking whites on, get out there, the old Birkenstocks, and then you've got your prep list. And it's like, right, let's start. You get 2 or 3. If you're fucking worth your weight, you'll have a couple of jobs on the go immediately, you know, and you'll get after it and you'll start smashing it out. As you get that prep list done, again, getting your sections boxed off, you're into lunch service, move through your lunch service, breakdown after that. Hopefully there hasn't been a complete fuck up in the service. Breakdown after that, maybe a bit of staff food if you're lucky, and then it's like fucking reset for dinner, boom, dinner service done, and then breakdown after. There's a process that you go through, and there's a standard that you keep in terms of the food that you're cooking. It's usually quite high from a lot of the chefs that I talk to. However, outside of the kitchen, what ends up happening? Well, it's like you finish late at night, you go home, and it's like fucking bit bollocks, man. Have a few cans, you know, might get a bag of chips and a kebab, sit up watching fucking Netflix till 2 or 3 in the morning, fall asleep late, drift off to bed, get a fucking couple of hours of shit sleep. If you're lucky, you might get to sleep in. You'll hit your snooze button far longer than you should. Wake up with your head up your arse, and then with just enough time, you might grab a coffee and a smoke and then go in and repeat the cycle. And on your days off, it's somewhat similar, where it's like sleep in, recover from the weekend's work, sleep in, God knows how long, wake up, be too tired to get anything done, so you don't, and then before you know it, it's 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening again, and you feel highly unsatisfied. And then you go back to work and you repeat that cycle over and over and over and over again. So
for 10 years.
For 10 to 15 years or 20 years or whatever the fuck, or for 35 years if you're Peter. Anyway. So as we look at that then, it's like your standards for what you do in work. I talk to so many chefs and their lives are in disarray. Like they're in absolute fucking disarray. But the kitchen's fine. It's like, yeah man, like I'm fucking haven't slept in about 5 years, and you know I've eaten 1 meal a day probably for about 10 years, and I drink more coffee than water, and I smoke about 53 cigarettes a day. But when I go, like, I'm in bits outside of work, and I'm tired all the time, and I'm not motivated, and I'm fucking, you know, depressed, I'm anxious. When I go into the kitchen, I'm grand. Like that's always
like it's a fucking badge of honor.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even fucking sleep a wink last night.
Yeah, going in. But the strange thing is, because it's like your natural habitat walking in, that it's like, okay, cool. You put on your uniform and it's like, cool, let's go, you know, and you just get it done. And that's kind of rinse and repeat. The key thing to understand here is that outside of the kitchen, you're in fucking disarray, as I was saying there. And you could probably attest to this, Peter, where it's like after a while, you just stop giving a shit. Would that be
100%.
Somewhere along the line? Do you know what I mean? Where it's like shitty food habits start taking hold, staying up way later than you should. Maybe it's smoking weed or whatever your wind down tool is. There's no structure with exercise. There's no structure with food. Like all of these things lead you to the point of going, oh, well, I'm stuck in a rut. That's the classic quote. I'm stuck in a rut. The thing about it is I believe this to be true. I believe that your standards are too low for yourself outside the kitchen. I really, really fucking believe that. And I feel that a lot of chefs, that playing the victim's never gonna work. Do you understand? Just going, oh well, I'm fucking working 70 hours a week, so like there's no point in fucking doing anything. And it's like, yeah, that's like, you may as well lie down and die if that's your attitude. Do you understand? Like that's literally what you're doing. Or you quit. That's it. There are your two options. You lie down and die, or you quit and you leave the job. But the victim mentality never fixes anything. You've got to be proactive in seeking solutions. Like if you're in a situation now where, sure, you might be working a fuckload of hours. Sure, going to the gym might take up an enormous amount of, willpower to actually make yourself go the first couple of times, But if you don't do that, your life is going to it's just going to perpetually be in this rut. So what's the choice there? It's like, raise your standard for what you want from yourself and get the fucking work done, or stay the way you are and stay stuck in the rut. But if you want to get out of the rut, there isn't another option here. There is no other choice. Do you understand? There is no other choice. I think it's a real common thing. And as I said,
sometimes, Cam, I swear to God, it feels like you've been following me around with a fucking notepad since I was 18.
Yeah, that's how I roll, man. I'm in there. I'm like fucking, you know what I mean?
I know there's loads of chefs hearing this going, fuck.
Yeah.
And hopefully there's people hearing it for the first time or realising it for the first time. And hopefully people are a lot fucking younger than I am.
Yeah.
Are hearing this.
Totally. Don't buy into the bullshit. You get told all sorts of shit. Like you buy in, and I was saying in a previous episode, when you have this stereotypical chef who is fueled by negativity and fucking, just lives on caffeine and fucking takes ibuprofen because his neck's and act fucked, and he's constantly miserable and fucking narky with people, but he's a workhorse and he can push through, or her, whatever. But like, it's not that same person then drinks fucking God knows how many pints. That same person is too tired to fucking be present with their spouse. They're not playing with their kids on their days off. They'd rather sit on the fucking couch watching Netflix or making excuses for why they can't get up off their fucking hole. And it's like, your standard for what you expect from yourself outside the kitchen is too low, pal. It's too fucking low. And the reality is, this is something that a lot of people struggle with. Like, what I mean by your standard is this. If you think going to the gym once in a week is a high standard, you are out of your fucking mind. And that's the reason, because it's like, if you aim for the stars, you'll at least make it into the clouds. But if you aim for the fucking tree on the other side of the road, you probably fall off the curb, pal. And that's it. And that's the same thing here. Like, I used to have this problem with personal training clients. So I used to personal train a lot of people. But the problem with personal training is, and you might have tried them yourself, Chef, the problem with personal training is it's like fucking rent a friend. So they give you money and then they just expect magically, without actually fucking having to raise their internal standard, that the results are just going to magically appear. That if they just come to you twice a week, all of a sudden, fucking hell, like they're just going to have a six pack and they're going to be really fit and they're going to be really healthy. And the reality is, because they gave that money over to me, they also handed their ownership over to me. Because they handed their ownership over to me, it meant that they would make excuses for why they couldn't fucking follow their food plan. They made excuses for why they couldn't go for their run on the weekend like I asked them to. Like they didn't do their stretches like I asked them to. They didn't do anything outside of the time that I had them, that they were paying for my time to do what they were supposed to fucking do. And that comes down to their standard was extremely low. They wanted the results, they wanted the fucking good things, but the standard was too fucking low. Now, when I look in Chef Fit and when I see some things, and I've said this to Peter, it's like, this is the new normal. When Peter's fucking running like 5 to 10 kilometers to and from work, and that's just him going to work. That doesn't even include his gym sessions. And that doesn't include his other cardio sessions. And he's absolutely,
that same day.
Yeah, and he's absolutely smashing it out. And the reason that happens is because my philosophy for Chef Fit is move every fucking day. And as you get fitter, things can get tougher. But I want you to move every fucking day. Because if I set the standard at moving 7 days a week, then all of a sudden normal starts to become 5 or 6 days a week. That's the standard. Whereas if I just went, oh, chefs are all tired and broken, maybe I'll only get them to do fucking 2 gym sessions a week, and maybe you might fucking, take your dog for a walk outside of that. That's a low standard. And if I set the standard that low, you're going to get fucking dog shit. So it's about setting your standard high. Are you part of something that sets that standard for you? That's what Chef It is. But even in your own mind, what are you expecting from yourself? What are you expecting from yourself? Are you expecting to fucking get it done? Are you expecting to train multiple times this week? Are you expecting to be on track with your nutrition? Or are you just sitting there going, it's fucking a bit hard, isn't it? It's like, what's it going to be? Literally, what is it going to be?
And you can't blame them for being skeptical at the start, because it's ingrained into you that this is the life that you chose when you come into that industry.
Yeah. Totally.
That's a huge part of it. So you do have to take a little bit of a leap of faith. You have to be able to say, even if you don't, some people that will think it's not going to work, where you're going to have to try it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like I've said to you before, I'm working out as much as I am, but I'm working still full time. And I would have thought, I wouldn't be able to, So I've got all these other things on, coaching 2 football teams and parkrun and stuff like that. But still, because this is the new normal. When you're saying about standards in work and standards outside work, it's so common to see these brilliant chefs, these super creative chefs, who if they have to make time and space and work to make it happen, they can do it. They make these beautiful plates. They're punctual. They're clean. They're fast. But they are very overweight, very unhealthy, grey as a fucking mule, and they could look 10, 15 years older than they actually are.
Yeah, 100%.
So if they took that same type of passion and put it into themselves, that's going to be night and day for them. That's going to be life and death, actually.
Well, I use my brother as an example of this all the time, because he was probably one of the first chefs that inspired me to create Chef It, because I saw the change. Like, as my brother had worked at a fucking top level, worked at a Michelin star level for many years, head chef, has his own place now. But I remember when he'd hit the age of 30, that he'd got it was 10 years in the absolute trenches, nonstop. And he was in fucking bits. He was in rags. Very excellent chef, worked his fucking whole off. I don't think he'd worked in less than an 80-hour week in 5 to 10 years. But he was in bits. And it was boozing every fucking night, never exercising, very not massive for picking and stuff like that, but indulgent in the way he eats. You know what I mean? The fridge, we'd always have ciders in the fridge. We'd always have fucking, you know what I mean? If we had the day off, we'd always be cooking massive fry-ups, and then we'd always be getting a fucking Indian or something that night. And that was just the lifestyle, smoking cigarettes, smoking weed. And somewhere along the line, when he hit 30, he was like, if I keep going like this, it's game over. I'm not going to fucking, doesn't matter how good of a chef I am. If I don't fucking get this sorted, I'm going to be fucking dead. And I'm not going to fucking do that. So he kicked the smokes. He stopped smoking weed. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to join the gym. And he did. And then he's like, right, will you start doing a program for me? I was like, yeah. I was like, start showing me what to eat. Like, yep, no problem.
I hope you fucking lashed him out with the programs with fucking chippers and tablets and everything, yeah.
That was the start. That was all the premise of the Chef Fit program, and where I had him coming in, and I was like, fucking, I had him doing these density blocks, and I've been smashing them for 15, 20 minutes. I had him moving on his working movements. I had him doing his mobility stuff and stretching his hips and stretching his hamstrings, so his posture was improving. The difference was insane. It was absolutely mind-boggling how much he changed, and the habits that he adopted from he took that same mentality that he had as a chef of just fucking, he always had this mentality of, it doesn't fucking matter whether I'm hungover, whether I'm fucking bollocks, whether I've slept 2 hours, when I'm stepping into the kitchen, you won't fucking know what the food is always at the level that it needs to be. And that was always his principle. So he took that same mindset and applied it into his own fitness and his lifestyle. And I think he lost over 10 to 15. He was a fucking big lad, but he lost over 10 to 15 kilos. Food habits absolutely spot on. Do you know what I mean? He probably eats better than I fucking do. And now he's doing jiu-jitsu 2 or 3 times a week, and it's that's the knock-on effect of you'll get to a point where you need to fucking change, and then
And he's still working full time. That's the
still
thing.
working full time, still open his own restaurant, still working full time.
That's the thing. We have the time. It's simple as that. That's the number one excuse.
Yeah, massively.
The number one excuse. Oh, I don't have time.
Yeah. So obviously, if you're doing 80 hours a week, sure, you might be able to train every fucking day, but like, instead of having the glass half empty, why don't you fucking look at the glass as half full? What time do I have? You have 2 days off. Cool. Well, like, let's use those days off and fucking do something. You know, you have a day that you're not on a double. Well, let's try and fucking, get something done then. Like, this is the mentality that you've got to have. You've got to have this high standard for what you expect from yourself. Because if you expect a high level of work from yourself, chances are you're going to deliver on the results. If you don't expect it from yourself, then you won't get it from yourself. If you don't expect it from yourself, you won't get it from yourself.
Of course.
Simple.
It's not gonna happen, but you're not gonna fucking. It's not gonna happen overnight by magic.
Like, it's not gonna happen, Chef. It's not gonna happen, and that is absolutely fucking vital that you understand that. Like, it's all up here. It really is. Except my hair looked like a fucking God knows what the fuck. Wearing a wig, we don't know. But it's all up here. It's all up here. You could this will kill you or it can make you. And you can either adopt this fucking mindset of whatever the fuck it takes. What can I get done? I will get that done. As opposed to, geez, it's a bit hard, isn't it? And I've been doing all these hours and fucking, I've just no energy and I've just like no motivation and life's really hard and just eating shit. It's like, that's your choice. You can't, I understand it's easy to fall into that trap because I fell into that fucking trap, but it was nobody else's fault. Life was hard. I got to the point where I just changed my life. I just fucking decided to do something else, but I know I could have made a better choice within that situation. I know when I was going home and playing Xbox for fucking 3.5 hours on my split instead of going and training when I should have. This is me being a competitive athlete at the time. Didn't do it. You know what I mean? And then I'd be blaming my job. And it's like, I was making a choice to come home and sit in my hole as opposed to go fucking 200-300 meter walk to the gym and get it done. So that's the standard that you hold yourself at. And I was not holding myself to the standard required. And now I do hold myself to a higher standard. And after that period of time, I became very competitive in powerlifting. And I had to hold my because I wanted to be the best. So it's like, no, fucking that shit is not acceptable anymore. You can't do that. If you want to be the best, you can't just rely on raw talent. You need to be fucking working your arse off. You need to persevere. And the same thing needs to happen in your lifestyle, Chef. So with that in mind, Petey, have we anything that we want to finish on, pal?
You touched it there now. When you're working away in a place like that, you don't see it that you don't have the same standards for yourself at home. You know what I mean? People don't see this. People don't, the chefs don't choose to not have the healthy lifestyle at home. We are in work and we are booked into that. And by doing that job and by getting into that career, you, without knowing it or without agreeing to it, you're just in there, and they're the standards that you have there. And the big thing is the fucking hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to work these hours, and you're not going to get paid for them hours.
Totally.
You know what I mean? And then your standards at home are always going to slip.
Yeah, totally.
I know I've said it before, but you wake up the next day and it's 10 years later.
Yeah. But this is the thing. Like I don't want to come across as harsh or a dick because I'm not trying to do that, but I'm trying to tell you the truth because no one is going to do it for you. No one's going to do it for you. If you want something in your life, you've got to make it happen. You've got to create your own reality. And for a lot of you, you are working those hours, and I fucking get it, man. It's tough as fuck. It's so hard. It is so fucking hard, to operate at that level and deal with those things. But it is not impossible to change under those conditions. And if you are in the position now where you're living in the fucking dark and your back is to the wall, you've got to make that change, man. You've got to make that change, you really do. So from my point of view, I hope this just, it starts to spark something. It starts to spark an ember inside you that makes you go, actually, maybe I can do better. And if you can do better, you will do better. If you think you can, you will. You think, therefore you are. Anyway, was that episode number 5? Episode number 5.
5 in the books.
Fucking saying church, pal. Give us a
Yep.
thumbs up on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and check us out on Podbean. If you are listening to this on audio, make sure you subscribe to that channel as well. And if you have any friends who like men with mustaches or they like grey silver foxes, nice t-shirts,
Send them on.
send them on. Fucking add them to the pile. Get in the pile,
Send
pal.
them on. Get
Right.
back to the pile.
Back in the pile. Anyway, with that in mind, peeps, I'll catch you. Peace.